In this lesson, we'll learn how we can start to animate the movement of our objects inside of Maya. So for this lesson, I'm going to open up one of these scene files, and this is called Lesson 10 Start. So what we're going to do is work on animation and begin adding movement to our Maya objects. So we're going to be working primarily with some of these controls down here for this lesson. So this main area that we have is called the timeline. Now if I start to come in and scrub through this timeline, we can see any animation that we may have. You can see we have just a little bit of movement that's already been applied, and we'll learn how we can actually start to move and animate our own objects here in just a minute. Now, right now we're looking at a unit of measurement in time of Maya, and Maya measures time in a unit called frames. So a frame is really just a tiny fraction of a second, and really with Maya's default settings, 24 frames is equal to about 1 second of time. So that's really sort of our baseline here. So essentially we're looking at roughly about 1 second of movement. Now if we wanted to play this back, we could either scrub through here, or a little bit more reliable way would actually be to click on the play button. Now you can see as I click on the play button that my animation is really just going all over the place. This is really nothing close to what I would expect to see. And that's because with Maya's default settings, it will actually try to play back in every frame. Basically, it'll play this back as fast as it can. Now, for the sake of time measurement, that's really not a good way to go. So what you may have to do is actually go down into your Maya animation settings, which is this little button right down here. Click on that. And down in the time slider, you can see my playback speed by default is set to play every frame. So let's switch that from play every frame to real time. Right now, save that, playback, and now Maya is actually going to try to play this back in real time. Now, if we want my animation to last maybe a little bit longer, so if we want maybe more than 24 frames worth of animation, we can start to set that down in here. So let's say maybe I wanted this to be something like 65 frames long. You can see as soon as I type that down in here, my timeline is now extended to encompass about 65 frames, and we can actually see a little bit more animation that we have here. Alright, now let's come in and begin the process of animating our own objects in Maya. Now there's lots and lots of different ways that we can actually set keyframes and set animation. So really we'll just explore one of those methods in this lesson, and if you want to learn more about this, we actually do have an entire course dedicated to the animation process in Maya. So that'll go actually much deeper, but that'll give you, this will at least give you some idea of just how we go about this process in Maya. So let's start by selecting the object that we want to animate. In my case, it's going to be this little ball here. And what I want to do is have this little leg kick this ball, and we want this ball to sort of bounce off and away. So what I want to do is try to find the point at which this leg sort of makes contact with the ball. In my case, this is going to be about frame 40. So let's start by selecting the ball. I'm going to go ahead and grab my Move tool. Now what we do is actually set animation through what are called keyframes. Now a keyframe is basically just telling Maya that at a certain point of time the ball was at a certain position, and that's essentially just a marker. So let's go to frame 40, and right now I want to key the movement or the translation of this ball. One method of doing that in Maya is to simply go up to your channel box, select the different attributes that you actually want to key at this point, and with our timeline set to frame 40, we're going to right-click on these different translate attributes and key selected. Now you can see a couple of things have happened. You can see these attributes have now turned red. That means that there is currently keyframe animation applied to these attributes. And if you look very carefully down in my timeline, you can see this little red marker that has appeared. That means that there is a keyframe at that point in time. So we've keyed our first position at this point. Now this really doesn't become an animation until we set a second key, something a little bit further along in time, to actually tell this ball where it needs to be at this point in time. So let's try something like frame 65. What I'll go ahead and do is move forward. Now take this ball and move it to where I want it to be. Let's say maybe somewhere over here. And again, with that new position and that new point in time, right-click and key selected. Now you can see a second little keyframe has appeared down in my timeline, and now, as I scrub forward, you can see the ball is moving from the first keyframe, and it automatically goes through the calculation process of moving that ball to reach the second keyframe. So a lot of the work gets automatically done for us by Maya. Now what's nice is the fact that we really don't have to keyframe things in any particular order. We can come through here and do this. If we want to maybe start to add a little bit more of a bounce to this, we can very easily do that. Or maybe if we wanted this ball to move a little bit faster away from the foot, we could just come in, find a few of these frames where maybe the ball is interacting a little bit too strongly with the foot. Maybe pull that a little bit further forward. And again, with this new point in time in this new position, right-click and key selected. So now you can see my ball moves out of here very quickly. Very nice. Now if we wanted to, we could, again, maybe start to add a little bit more bounce to this. So let's say, maybe at this point in time, around frame 42 in my case, maybe move that ball up a little bit. And again, right-click, key selected. Now you can see the ball sort of bounces to that new position. So you can see really how this becomes a very interactive process once you get used to it. So now it's just a matter of coming in and maybe animate a little bit more of a bounce to this. So let's say we wanted the ball to kind of bounce and hit the ground again. Just find that proper point in time and key selected. So now the ball sort of bounces up and down. Probably want to maybe add a little bit more of a bounce up here, just something really simple. So around frame 55. All right, excellent. Now we can also do other things. We can start to key things like rotation. So if I wanted to do that, again, just simply find the point in time where we want to start. In my case, around frame 40. Now if I wanted to key rotation, it's the exact same process. Just come in, select my rotate attribute, right-click, and key selected. Now if I wanted this to maybe go through several rotations, go all the way down to the end of my timeline, grab my rotate tool, and rotate this guy around a little bit. And once I'm done, right-click, key selected, so I can now key it at this new rotation. So now you can see the ball kicks, it goes up, bounces, and kind of spins a little bit. All right, so very, very nice. Really quick and easy way of coming in and starting to add a little bit of keyframe animation to our objects in Maya. Now, if at any point you decide you want to come in and start to remove some of the animation from this, again, relatively simple process. We can come in and just select any of these attributes that we want to remove the animation from. For example, you can see things like the rotate Y and rotate Z. Even though we've added keyframes for those, you can see as we start to move through time, the values for these are not changing, which means there really is no need to have keyframes applied to those attributes. So if we wanted to remove that, just simply right-click on the attributes that you want, and we could choose to break connections. There we are. And now you can see the animation has now been removed, and we can tell because those attributes are no longer highlighted in this same little red area, or highlighted with that red color. Now, as I mentioned, this is really just a very, very basic look at the animation process. There are actually lots of additional tools, lots of additional features, and a lot of additional techniques that you can start to use for animation in Maya. Now, if you would like to learn more about that, like I said, we actually do have an entire course dedicated to the introductory process of animation, and actually we have many, many additional animation courses that you can find in our Digital Tutors library. So that, again, is just a very quick and basic look at the animation process in Maya.